moving from starting small, how would you encourage a large systematic co-production to happen? For example, a really large scale change or transformation or design of something where the service leaders are thinking co-production could be a really good way to make a start, but that has to have that commitment from the beginning to be the approach all the way through that transformation. What advice would you give to those sort of leaders who are thinking co-production might be the way forward for them?
Well, I'd say their instinct's right, and they should. I mean, I think they should think. I think one of the biggest arguments for co-production from like a service leader perspective is that you'll make, if you don't co-produce, you'll make mistakes, and those mistakes are going to be costly. And so co-production is one way of kind of trying to minimize the risks of making like quite costly big mistakes. And the other thing I think that you'll have is you'll have a bigger tent, you'll have allies, you'll have more allies, and you'll have more community ownership of whatever you're creating. And so what you create will be more fit for purpose, and it will be owned by the community, and the community will have more investment in it, and they'll have more investment in sort of the upkeep of it and supporting it. So I think it's, you know, it pays a lot of dividends, and also you'll enjoy yourself more. You'll have more fun. You know, it'll just be a laugh, really, because it's much more fun. It doesn't have to, you know, you might be spending big sums of money and there's serious stuff to do, but I think it can be enjoyable. That's one of the best things about co-production, I think, is that it's really you know, these things can be fun. They should be fun. There should be an element of enjoyment and celebration of doing something together and learning together.
Well, what can be better than creating something with the people that are actually going to end up using it? That's got to be a big win, hasn't it?
Yeah, it passes the common sense test, I think.
Yeah.
So what practical ideas would you give an organisation to really get started in quite a systematic project that would have to span over a period of years? What practical tips could they start with?
Well, I think you need to think about the governance. I think you do need to think. I mean, people say co-production isn't rocket science. It's really simple. It is a simple idea, but it's not that simple to implement. I think it's quite a technical challenge to implement and requires quite a lot of thought and planning. And so I think you've got to get the governance right. So you've got to get the right group of people, and I think you need to have a fair process to select that group of people. And then and that sort of central group of people that sort of are monitoring all the progress and sort of driving everything, I think they're really key. And so the other thing I would do is encourage people to, like kind of Matt was saying, but in a different way maybe, but to invest a lot of time and energy in developing that group and facilitating that group and having that group spend time with each other and get to know each other, because there's going to probably be conflicts and difficulties and misunderstandings along the way. But if you've spent that time, you know, maybe you'll go into to a hotel together for, you know, a couple of days or something like that at the beginning of the project, and then doing that intimately as the project's going along. I think that's really, really important, because it's tough, you know, I think, and sort of to get people to be as honest as they can about their own anxieties, about what's going on and sort of like their worries. And if people can be able to speak frankly to each other about kind of how they feel about stuff, I think that can really help. And then obviously it costs money. I think you've got to think about the bottom line and how much is this going to cost? How much is this going to add to the project? But I think it's a very, very small percentage, that you would need to invest that can make an enormous contribution, an enormous difference, and bring a whole lot of energy and ideas and to something. But I think you've got to have some guts. You've got to be bold. You've got to kind of like go for it, really, because projects like that, don't happen that often, I think.
So they'd be a pioneer of the process and a great example in the future as well.
Yeah. And I think, it would be a great thing to look back on, to have said this is the way we did it, and we didn't do it the old way, but we did it a different way, and look how it's been hard, but it's been really worth it.